Welcome to the We Are Not Born Failures podcast. I'm your host, Moises Linares. Middle of the summer, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know about you guys, but it's hot. Si alguien tiene una carne asada, si alguien tiene una invitación a un río, a una piscina, por favor, invite me to the river. Invite me to a barbecue with a pool party. I don't know, man. This summer is just hitting different. It's been hot out there. So, you know what? It's all good. It's all good. We'll get to the river soon enough. We'll get there this summer before the summer ends. And you know what? For the past couple of weeks, I've just been wrestling with a couple of thoughts, a lot of things that have been going through my mind. Hay algunas cosas con las que he estado luchando, pensamientos, y eso más que todo es cómo encontrar las respuestas a lo que necesito, how to find the answers to the challenges, to the projects that I have, these issues that sometimes come out of nowhere and you have no solution, but you need to find an answer in order to kind of keep going. And in that, I've approached a couple of friends. He hablado con varios amigos. He tenido la oportunidad de sentarme con ellos para escucharlos, pedir consejos, qué es lo que puedo hacer. And in those conversations, sometimes, excuse me, you have some incredible feedback. All right, man, we just started the podcast. I'm already coughing. Jeez, is it the heat or what is it? All right, let me continue. What I was saying was, sometimes you have challenges, struggles, questions that perhaps don't have an immediate answer. So you seek guidance, you seek counseling. You talk to people who have been there before, people who have done what you're trying to do. I often do that. I sit with people that I admire, respect. And in those conversations, there's a lot of great feedback. Let me tell you. And recently, I'm working on a couple of projects and I'm stuck. And I'm thinking, how am I going to move this project forward? How am I going to get to that next level? A lot of you go through the same situations. Sometimes you're thinking of what's next. How do I get there? What am I missing? What am I not doing right? Why isn't this happening for me right now if I'm doing all the work? And I've sat down with a couple of friends. A friend of mine told me not so long ago, remember when you started. Remember who you were back then. Remember the hunger. Remember the drive. Remember the relentlessness. Remember that you were willing to put up with anything in order to keep moving forward. And when he told me that, I just kind of sat down. I was sitting, but I stood quiet for a moment. And I thought, wow, that's true. That is very true. Hablando con un amigo yo le comentaba a él los proyectos en los que estoy trabajando, los retos a los cuales me estoy enfrentando, las dificultades. Y lo que me dijo fue, recuérdate quién eras cuando comenzaste. Recuérdate de lo que pasaste, de lo que hiciste, de las ganas que tenías en aquel entonces para seguir adelante y que nada te detenía. No había excusa, no habían obstáculos lo suficientemente grandes para detenerte. Y muchos de nosotros somos así. A veces se nos olvida quién éramos cuando comenzábamos. Y eso me lleva a pensar en lo deportivo de atletas importantes. Kobe Bryant, 5 títulos, considerado uno de los mejores atletas de todos los tiempos, un ganador que nunca estaba contento con los resultados. A pesar de ganar título tras título tras título, quería más, demandaba más de sus compañeros. Y eso es increíble, no es el único. Tenemos el caso de Lionel Messi. Un Messi que antes de ganar con la selección de Argentina tuvo que caer, perder, tropezar, casi rendirse, casi tirar la toalla, pero aún así decía, no, tengo que ganar algo con la selección. Eventualmente ganó la Copa América, ganó la finalísima y ganó la Copa Mundial de la FIFA. Considerado hoy en día tal vez el mejor jugador de todos los tiempos. Cada quien tiene su decisión. Cristiano Ronaldo, jugador que a nivel de clubes lo ha ganado todo. No hay otro que se compare como Cristiano. Son muy pocos en esa lista. Lo ganó todo con el Real Madrid, donde fue, no importa qué club era, ganó. Y tal vez el nombre que siempre surge es el de Michael Jordan, el ganador más grande en la historia de los deportes. Cada atleta, sin importar la disciplina, hablan de un Michael Jordan, hombre que ganó 3 títulos consecutivos en 2 ocasiones diferentes. Eso es querer ganar y nunca estar satisfecho, siempre buscar cómo mejorar, cómo seguir creciendo. Talking to this friend, I was thinking, and I was reminded of some of the biggest sports athletes that I admire, that I respect, that I followed for a very long time. Kobe Bryant, the ultimate winner, the ultimate competitor, a guy who was never satisfied, won a title, wanted more, demanded the most out of his teammates. 5 championships with the Lakers and still wanted more. Then you think about guys like Lionel Messi, a Messi that for many years, all he did was lose with the Argentine national team. Couldn't win the big game, always came up short. Was very close to just calling it quits and saying, you know what? It's not going to happen. Just let it go. But that drive inside, that hunger inside pushed him. And he said, I have to win something with the national team. Eventually, won the Copa America, won La Finalísima, and won the ultimate prize in sports, the FIFA World Cup, now considered one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time. That's a decision I'll let you make. Then you have Cristiano Ronaldo, a guy who's won it all. Everywhere he's went, he's won. One of the biggest winners at the club level. And when people mention winners, when athletes talk about winners, they often speak about Michael Jordan. Perhaps the biggest name in all of sports. 2 three-peats with the Chicago Bulls. And those are just a few examples, because we can keep going and the list just, it goes on and on and on. And the question I ask myself, what do they have that you and I sometimes don't have or we lack? Is the fact that they always want to win. It's never enough. They're always challenging themselves. They climb a mountain, they turn around, they look around, and they're asking themselves, what's the next mountain to climb? Where do we start our next challenge? While a lot of us, and I include myself on that list, sometimes we begin to win. We begin to climb that mountain. We begin to be successful, and we get comfortable. We get a very comfortable, it's enough. I'm fine. You know what? This is good. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I've said this on different occasions. When you're trying to keep going higher, you can't get comfortable. You can't accept one victory. You want another victory and another win, and just keep going up and keep going up. That's the difference between them and a lot of us. But we have that within us, because when we started, we were just like that. We were that driven. We were relentless. We didn't allow anything to tell us we couldn't do it. But once we get comfortable and we start eating different, things change. You forget that at one point you were hungry, barely had enough to eat, looking to buy a meal on a budget, checking your bank account. Do I have enough money today? Am I going to overdraft? I know I did. There were different times where I didn't have enough. A lot of you can say the same. Checking. Can I go out? Should I stay home? But then you get to this point where you're winning a little bit. You're no longer checking the bank account. You're not checking how much does it cost. You simply buy it cash or put it on a credit card. So your lifestyle starts to change. You're a little bit more easygoing. You have more wiggle room. You're like, I don't need that. I can hold off. I don't have to do that today. I don't have to go all out today. But when you started, it was quite different. Every single morning you got up and you said, I have to work. I have to get this no matter what. I have to make this happen no matter what. I have to keep going no matter what. I felt I'm getting back up because my goal, my reward is on the other side of that mountain. And I have to climb that mountain to get to wherever I need to get. But when you get comfortable, all of that goes out the window. And a lot of us forget that. You forget how hard you fought to get to this point. You forget everything you had to do to get to this point. And I'm going to say that in Spanish because I feel that that's important. En muchas ocasiones, llegamos a una parte de nuestra vida donde estamos cómodos, donde ya no importa tener que hacer más. Estamos cómodos, no tenemos que revisar nuestra cuenta bancaria, tenemos suficiente dinero para comprar esto hoy, tenemos suficiente para comer fuera de casa. Mi cuenta se irá, negativa. Voy a perder dinero porque no tengo suficiente. El overdraft fee, como dicen en inglés. Se nos olvida eso. Se te olvida que en ocasiones cuando no tenías nada estabas dispuesto a hacerlo todo. Te levantabas temprano, trabajabas extra, ibas al más allá, ponías de tu parte 2, 3 veces más de lo que haces hoy. Llega el momento donde estás cómodo, ya comes bien, ya no te tienes que preocupar si hay suficiente dinero en la cuenta bancaria, porque lo puedes pagar con tarjeta de crédito o lo puedes pagar cash. El dinero ya no es un reto grande como lo era al principio y vas perdiendo esas ganas o las estás separando y te pones cómodo y sigues adelante con lo que tienes. Y el poquito que estás haciendo es suficiente para ti. Pero cuando uno quiere llegar al otro lado, cuando uno quiere alcanzar esas metas que tanto seguimos, se nos olvida todo eso. La diferencia entre la gente que está hasta arriba, la que está hasta arriba, la que sigue ganando, es que nunca están satisfechos. Siempre quieren más, sean atletas profesionales que lo han ganado todo, o sea una persona normal, común y corriente como tú y como yo, que le está yendo muy bien en la vida, que la está rompiendo, pero que no se deja porque sabe que su meta está al otro lado de la montaña y tiene que seguir haciendo lo que sea para llegar. A veces somos culpables, nos sentimos cómodos. Yo también me incluyo en esa lista. No digo que no, porque también he pasado por momentos así, pero cuando es momento de dar un paso hacia adelante y preguntarte cómo es que vas a llegar, te recuerdas, ya lo hice una vez, ya he subido montañas. He escalado montañas mucho más grandes. Lo puedo hacer. Pero cuando estás cómodo, no es una prioridad. Now, let me tell you a story. Growing up as a kid with my siblings, every Sunday, we sat in front of a TV to watch National Geographic. It was one of my favorite shows. We would sit there. We would see animals hunting. It was a great time in life. And even till this day, I carry that love for National Geographic. I love sitting down, not on TV, not in front of my TV, but on my computer, on YouTube, just watching these videos of how animals survive or the things they do in order to keep moving forward. Animals, unlike us, have pretty much 2 presets, right? To reproduce and to survive. Those are the 2 main characteristics, if you ask me. You can look it up. Maybe I'm wrong. But that's what I found. And I found a goat. A goat that defies gravity. And you're asking yourself, what are you talking about, man? A goat that defies gravity? Yes. The ibex goat. Yes, the ibex goat. Look it up. YouTube, Google. Do whatever you need to do. It's a great story. Now, this goat is a master of climbing steep mountains, steep walls. It climbs thousands of feet every spring, oftentimes around the year, looking for minerals and salts that it needs, because without them, their body is weak, their bones are weak, their muscles are weak. In order for this goat to survive, it needs to climb these mountains and these walls where this salt is concentrated at. They need to keep going up. It is the biggest challenge I've ever seen an animal do. And predators are always around. always trying to hunt them down. Bears, leopards, cougars, even eagles. But this goat knows that without that salts and those minerals, it will not survive. It's a herbivore, so pretty much it eats grass, and its diet doesn't have a lot of salts. In order for them to keep going, they need to climb the mountain. They need to climb that wall. And I'm speaking of a vertical wall. A vertical wall. It's crazy. It's insane to see this goat go up knowing that it needs to go there. And sometimes when I think about ourselves, when I think about humans, when I think about people, when you know you need to do something in order to keep going, in order to survive, in order to keep climbing, and you really want it because you know without it, you're done for. And I'm not speaking of death. I'm speaking about careers. I'm speaking about opportunities. A lot of us, we're willing to do whatever it takes. The mentality is different. It's a perfect example of the unwavering human spirit, if you ask me. Because we do have it. We do have it. The ibex goat, the master of mountain climbing. It lives at the highest levels of mountains sometimes, where no enemy can reach it, where no enemy can do it harm. We have that within us. We have it inside of us. I know it. I've seen it. My grandmother, who was around 50 years old when she left El Salvador for the second time, she went back to say goodbye to her father who was passing away, and she did it illegally. So she practically self-deported herself. Goes to El Salvador, pays her respects, says goodbye to her father, and makes the decision of coming back to the United States. Difference was that she couldn't get back into the country legally because she didn't have proper documentation. So she would have to cross 3 countries all over again. 50 years old, thinking this is the only way to get back to my family. My family is in California. That's where I need to be. That's where I feel I have to go. People were skeptical. They were questioning, thinking, is she ready? Can she really do this trip all over again at 50 years old, getting older? She was a little bit overweight. She had put on a lot of pounds eating all that delicious Salvadoran food. But she thought to herself, I have to train. I have to do whatever it takes. So she started preparing herself, walking long distances in San Miguel, El Salvador, walking for hours, 6 to 8 hours at a time, losing and shedding all that weight she had put on. After a few months, she did. Spoke to one of my uncles who was doing the trip, said, you need to take me. He was hesitant. He said, I don't know. And he said, you have to take me. I'm not taking no for an answer. And eventually he caved and he said, okay, I'll take you. She starts going on this trip all over again, crossing Guatemala, all into Mexico, getting on train, getting on buses, getting all the way to the border between San Diego and Tijuana. And in that journey, she asked herself many times, was this the correct decision? Did I make the right choice? Because she was tired. She was thirsty. She wanted to give up. At points, she felt like she was going to die. But she knew within herself that she couldn't stop, that she had to keep going, that she had to finish that trek of almost 3,000 miles from El Salvador all the way to Los Angeles. Because in the other side of that mountain she had to climb, her family was waiting. Her grandkids were waiting, including myself. But no one really understood the difficulty, the challenge that it required, right? The effort it required to do this trip 2 times in her lifetime. But she knew that if she didn't do it, she might live with regret for the rest of her life. Therefore, she completed the journey. She completed it against the odds, against whatever anyone would tell her, because people told her, don't do it. You're going to die. Don't do it. It is the biggest mistake you can make. And she said, no, I'm going to keep going. And I tell this story because I feel that relentlessness, that tenacity, that grit has been passed on to her grandkids, to myself. And I often tell myself, if I could only have 25% of what that lady showed, then I would be unstoppable. And every day I search, every day I look for that grit, for that relentlessness to just keep going, knowing that if I stop now, I might regret this for the rest of my life. If I quit now, what will I say in 10 years? And that's the same question some of you have to ask yourselves. If you stop now, if you don't keep going, chasing this dream, following this dream, will you regret it in 5 years? Will you regret it in 10? Will you regret it for the rest of your life? Those are the questions that sometimes seems like we don't have answers for. But there's always a way. There's always, when there's a will, where there's a will, there's a way. And I think we forget that. I think sometimes we believe that it's not possible, that we've hit a wall. And I go back to the beginning of this conversation. If you were to tap in to that hunger you had when you started your journey, then you are unstoppable. If you are willing to dig deep inside of yourself and remember all the things you had to go through, all the things you went through, it would be a lot different. It is possible. You could definitely do it. And for the people who are just starting now, if your journey is just beginning, that hunger you have right now, and by hunger, I mean all the things you're doing to get to where you want to get. All the free work, all the extra hours, all the phone calls, all the rejections, all the times you've hit a wall and you feel like you have nowhere to go. All of that is what's carrying you to that next level. All of that is what will take you from point A to point B. But you have to keep the fire going. Going back to the athletes, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Messi, Cristiano, and all the lists, that long list that we would be here all day if we talked about all the athletes that have done amazing things. They have a fire that's never put out. It's never extinguished. It just keeps going. We all have it, because when you have a purpose, when you have inspiration, right? When you have that fire within you, you're unstoppable. You don't need nothing to push you. You don't need no one to tell you what to do. You're going to go out there and you're going to do it no matter what. So you have to tap in to that hunger you once had. If you're not feeling it right now, look, dig, remember. If you are that type of person that still has it going on, that you don't need any of the extras to push you and to get you from here to here, then keep going. Inspire others, help others. Remind them that on the other side of that, at the other side of that mountain, there's a reward. You go to the gym, you work out with teams, you work out with trainers, and what do they tell you when you feel like giving up? Finish, get your reward, keep going. You have to pay a price. Sometimes that price is painful. It's tough, but once you make it, it's nice. It's nice up there. You soak it in, climb a new mountain. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's the end of this edition of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you take something from it. Share it, comment, tell a friend, leave a comment, and let me know what you think. So have a great rest of the week, and I guess I'll see you next time.